Welcome to That American Football Show, powered by EP Sports. EP Sports is one of the top suppliers in the UK for all your American football needs, helping players and coaches reach their potential since 2007. Check them out at epsports.co.uk. It's just the three of us today. Craig has got the lurgy, so that paired with a Scouse accent does not equal for easy listening. But the ELF season has had its championship weekend. The dust has settled. The Vienna Vikings stand as the 2022 ELF champs. So golf clap to them. But yeah, let's just get into some news, boys, because we've got a lot to cover this session. It's basically condensing all the NFL off season into one session. But yeah, let's address it first. Vienna win the championship. First year in the, granted, second year of an entire league, but it's a great showing for them. I think a lot of players expected it, hearing about them, but they've really put the paper on the field and showed you what they've got.
Yeah, I think a lot of us and a lot of people had them as a top 5 team. We weren't quite sure exactly how they were going to be, but we knew they were going to be a force. But look, for me, I think they were the best all-round team in the ELF. They just didn't seem to do anything bad or anything wrong, which in this sport wins you quite a lot. You know, if you're consistent and you don't make too many mistakes, you're going to find yourself in a good position come the off season, and that's exactly how they were. And they played that game exactly how they played all the way through. Offense kept things moving. Defense knew how to nullify the opposing team, as in this case, Hamburg being Glenn Tunga. They knew exactly how to keep him quiet, -5 yards in the first half. And it showed everything, really. And yeah, worthy winners. I know we all had Hamburg to go and win it. We just thought maybe Hamburg had a bit more flair, and if they got their game going, that they are unstoppable. But Vienna managed to stop them from doing it.
Yeah, totally agree with everything Joe just said there. I think it's like the Patriots back when they were dominant. They were just consistent and they did their job. You know, they didn't make mistakes, and that's what Vienna did. And they just executed and got things done, basically.
Like you said, Joe, Hamburg clearly had the best defense. I think you could argue that Barcelona had the best, most consistent offense, but Vikings had the two best pairs. But yeah, really good. Congratulations. I think, like you said, good win for the league. Very competitive championship. Semi-finals weren't as competitive, but we kind of expected that with the level of talent in those two top teams. More stuff surrounding the championship game. The 2 more expansion teams have been announced. So there's a Paris team. That's all we know so far. I've heard Musketeers could be an option. But Prague Lions, they've been announced. They've got the logo. It looks amazing. Their colours look great. Like, Prague looks like location talent. I have no idea how they're going to do, but they look great.
Yeah, Prague look like a team that I personally haven't picked a team to support and follow, but Prague are piquing my interest at the moment.
Prague and Vienna, I think you could argue and Barcelona, like the top cities there, really.
Yeah, for sure. Prague's a hell of a place. You know, it's cheap beer. Goulash is great. So good. They love their sport. So I think it's a great addition to the league. And, you know, Czech Republic, so they're pretty hard over there. So, you know, they're going to be playing some good solid football.
I think if Paris gets all the French players around the league to join the Paris team, because there's a lot of French players. So
yeah, when I saw it now, the first comment was Filius Pascalini, like a fire emoji or something.
Yeah. There you go. He'll be the first of many.
There's going to be, so I said that there's going to be a lot of French talent. Like, I think there may be an underrated country for producing talent. Other championship news, so 14,566 people was the attendance on paper. In a stadium that seated a little over 30,000. It did look a little bit empty, and beautiful location, everything. But I mean, we've talked a fair bit about this.
There was a bit of controversy about the actual figure, though, because when the game book initially came out, the figure was just over 10,000, and then they quickly changed it to 14,000. So little bit of conspiracy theory there, whether there were 14,000 people in there looking at it. I think there probably were, but I think they're overambitious with a stadium that holds 32,000, to be honest with you, because 14,000 is not a bad attendance.
No.
But it just looks bad. It's any sport does it. Puts it in a huge stadium and you've got people spread out. It looks bad. So I think they need to be less ambitious with the stadium for the next championship game.
Yeah, and I think they need to be smarter with the location as well. I mean, there were 22,000 at last year's championship final. So that's a drop-off of 7,000 people, or over 7,000 people. And look, Klagenfurt, beautiful place, great city, but really tough to get to and expensive to get to as well, which I think was the big thing. For us, I believe, people can correct me, but when I was looking at potentially going, it looked like Klagenfurt only really went to Dusseldorf and Vienna. Therefore, for most fans, unless you're Vikings fans, great, easy trip. If you're in Dusseldorf, nice and easy. You can get a train there if you live nearby. But for everyone else, that's 2 flights we have to get. It's just not. Like, if there was somewhere in Berlin, perhaps Munich would be a good option. Germany is the host country, essentially, of the ELF. And I don't think a lot of people would have any issue with it just being held in Germany each year.
It's where the fan base is, like, it makes sense. I mean, once you've got big acclaim, you've got loads of countries that love it, then start doing the Super Bowl thing and moving the stadium around. But pick a location that you're going to fill, that's got good facilities, that you can do what you need to do with it.
Rheinfire getting that close, that figure for home games. So if it was closer to there, imagine if they were in the final. Did we ever get an explanation of why the halftime show was cancelled? That seemed odd as well.
I don't have a clue. There could be any reason, because there were 2. Were they German rappers? I think I remember listening to a couple of their songs after they got announced. They weren't too bad, but I don't know what it was. It just, it's a shame. And you could tell, the commissioner was a bit stressed. I don't know. I don't know if what had gone wrong, but he really seemed it on that podium, sort of, telling players off for opening champagne, trying to organize like 60, 70 people down on my. It just didn't work. I know he kind of wanted it to go perfect, but it's difficult.
They're the ones who won the game.
Exactly.
They should literally just be there going, "Here's your trophy, enjoy."
Yeah, that's all it should be. Yeah, because they tried to get Jenny Becks on the stage, and that was quite awkward. Like, she's done a lot for the league, but it was kind of, look, just give. Yeah, you're right. Give the trophy to the players and let them lift it and let them party, and then do stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving away from championship game, some news that's come out since then. Probably biggest was that the Barcelona Dragons parted ways with Coach of the Year, Andrew Weidinger, but the Rheinfire have now picked him up as an offensive coordinator. So this is the guy that turned the Dragons from a very sketchy team to a very strong offensive power in the league. That's very worrying for most of the teams, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially as you mentioned, you saw what Barcelona became offensively this year, and if they can do that, I don't know what, who Rheinfire are going to get in, but if they get in a decent quarterback, I know they got Jadrian. If they keep Jadrian, that could be great, because we saw how good Jadrian was towards the back end of last year. If they go try somewhere else, someone maybe a bit more explosive, then it could be quite an exciting team. I just think it's a very smart signing. Imagine taking the head coach of the conference your division champions and making him your OC. Like, that's a power move.
I mean, it's got to be that Weidinger just wanted to stop being a head coach, I'd imagine, because why would you take that when you, like, I'm sure Barcelona's not a bad place to be in.
He gets to work under Tom Sula. Is that possible?
This is my theory on it. So he gets to work under Tom Sula. Tom Sula's just been given a second job as head of football operations as well, I believe. So, and I don't know how old Weidinger is, but it's good succession planning if that's what Rheinfire are planning to do. So sort of get him a tutor in Tom Sula, build him up. When Tom Sula decides to go back to America, they've got a ready-made coach of the year there, just waiting to come in. So there's a lot of people on the Reddit page saying, what a ridiculous thing, any other teams that wanted him as a head coach. If I was planning my career and I could get to work under Coach Tom Sula, I'd do that.
Plus, Andrew Weidinger, I'd put money on him being German. So if he gets to go and work from home.
I think he was American. That's a fair point.
No, he's American, but yeah, yeah.
There goes my theory. The Berlin Thunder have re-signed Kyle Kitchens, the first player to have confirmed next year. I mean, you get the best defensive player in the league back. He seems to love it in Berlin. I guess keep going. What's it? Don't fix what ain't broke.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. One of the best players in the league. If you've got him there, do all you can to keep him and build your defense around him. Berlin took a massive, great step this year. No reason why they can't do it again. So, yeah, good signing.
With 18 teams, do we think the playoffs open up one more slot somewhere, like a wild card in all divisions?
Yeah, you've got to shoot.
Yeah, it's got to be 6 teams.
It's got to be.
Surely.
Right now, if you've got 3 conferences, obviously you get the one winner out of each. It makes it hard to be that second team because you've got to be the second team that's better than everyone else's conference. So, yeah, I think they'll need to look at that.
How exciting was the last week of the season where you essentially did have a play-in game? There was a couple of them, wasn't it? Imagine that and add that as a playoff game. It would be brilliant.
Yeah. And I mean, talking about that one of the best players in the league, we can go over the ELF season awards. So we did make some predictions a couple of weeks ago. I think we had, we didn't have to agreed, but we had like Zach Edwards as MVP. We had Glenn Tunga for Offensive Player of the Year, and we had Kyle Kitchens for Defensive Player of the Year. We all got Kyle. Didn't really have a miss.
Yeah.
But Sean Shelton wins MVP. And Kyle Sweet gets Offensive Player of the Year. Let's break it down. So main stats for a quarterback. Sean Shelton, he gets 3,135 yards in the season, which is second behind Zach Edwards. He's on a 63.59% completion rate, 31 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. I think that's his crowning factor. And don't forget, 422 yards rushing with 8 touchdowns. He did run a lot more than we realised. I mean, congrats, Sean. End of the show. I know, Tim, you speak to him a lot, and he's also announced his retirement.
Yeah.
So what a way to finish. He's won so many MVPs in the bowls he's played, and to finish it off with one in the ELF. I mean, can't really go out much better.
Yeah, I think when we messaged him this morning, what he said back to us was it was just a shame not to go out with the ring. So I'm surprised he went because he's only 31, so coming off one of his best seasons. And at first, it seemed a bit of surprise that he got the MVP over Glenn Tonga and Zach Edwards. But looking at the stats, he was only about 90 yards behind Zach Edwards in passing, and he had a better touchdown to interception rate to Zach Edwards as well. And also, he had quite a varied cast. He didn't have one high-class receiver. He spread the ball out between a lot of them. Obviously, one of them got Offensive Rookie of the Year, but he didn't have a Kyle Sweet. He didn't have a Gene Constant to play with. And he was making a lot of those plays when you watched him. So I think he actually deserved the MVP.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would have disagreed any of the top 3. Like, Sean, I think Sean really was the kind of control center of that team.
Yeah.
And hasn't he retired like 3 times already? There's still a...
Yeah.
Offensive Player of the Year, Kyle Sweet. Reading his stats, I didn't actually realise quite how big he got, but he got the Triple Crown, first guy in the ELF to do that. He gets 115 catches, 70% catch rate, 1,561 yards, and 17 touchdowns. I mean, obviously, Triple Crown, he didn't really have a contender with the other wide receivers.
No, and we mentioned that we thought Glenn would get an award, and I'm looking here, and I thought, Glenn obviously smashed the other running backs out the park, but there was a difference of 380 yards between Glenn Tunga and Jock Crawford, who was second, and there was a gap of 378 yards between Kyle Sweet and Robitaille. So the gap between the first and second running back, second wide receiver was just 2 yards, as in that was the differential there. So I think people were asking, oh, how come? But yeah, Kyle Sweet was a massive player this year. And when you look at the actual stats as well, you can see why it happened.
It does help.
It does seem a shame that Glenn Tunga doesn't get mentioned in the awards, though. For what season
he deserves something. Because
absolutely.
Glenn Tunga is the Kyle Sweet of the running backs, essentially.
Yeah.
But I mean, Kyle Sweet had Zach Edwards drilling the ball to him like 20 times a game, so I guess that does help. Defensive player of the year, like we mentioned, Carl Kitchens. He got 58 tackles, 16 sacks, crazy, 33 and a half tackles for loss. I don't have the stat in front of me, but he had something like 130 yards, 140 yards sacked. So, like, he had nearly the equivalent of a good running back game's worth. And that's personally looking at, one touchdown and one interception. So, I mean, if you watched him play a game, he took over everywhere he played. He's just another level.
Yeah.
Then the championship, there's a lot of awards. Championship game MVP. We've got number 17 for the Vienna Vikings. I'm going to say this name wrong. Kimi Lianma.
Yeah.
125 yards, 1 touchdown. It was a very balanced game for the Vikings, to be fair. You can't really pick out one, but Kimi did make a lot of important plays.
And he threw a touchdown.
Yeah, that's the touchdown. That's right. It wasn't
one. So, yeah, he was the MVP for sure. You mentioned it's a team effort when it comes to the Vikings, but he was the one guy that really stood out. He did. I think, yeah, throwing that touchdown is what got him the MVP. But, yeah, so many times where Urban would launch it and you were kind of thinking, oh, where's this ball going? And there he was, just underneath, catching the ball, doing his job. So, yeah, fair play to
him. Next award, we've got Coach of the Year, as you mentioned, Andrew Weidinger for the Barcelona Dragons. Now, here's going to get weird because you mentioned before this is the Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's not. He's the Rookie of the Year. So it seems to be like a rookie MVP because there was also Offensive Rookie. But it's Marco Schneider, Raiders wide receiver. He had 692 yards, 41 catches, 8 touchdowns, which is a very healthy season for a rookie receiver, especially in the ELF.
Yeah, that's really good, actually. I didn't realize he had that many yards and
touchdowns.
He'd done really well.
Especially with how much Shelton like spread the ball out. Like we said, it was a grinding offense. They didn't focus on anyone. Then we've got Man of the Year. So this is the equivalent to Walter Payton Award, I think. And they do kind of shout out his work with the kind of the Ukraine effort. And it's Dennis Kensler, offensive line for Hamburg. Something to do with going over to Ukraine during the war effort. So fair play to the guy. Special player team of the year, Eric Schlom, the Hamburger kicker / punter. I guess because he does both jobs, that's why he gets it.
Yeah, he does.
A reliable kicker. But
very reliable.
Then here we go, Offensive Rookie of the Year. We get the Kings wide receiver, Anton July. He made a couple of splash plays throughout the year. He was pretty good.
Yeah, did well, including he had quite a nasty injury a few weeks in and was out for a little bit. And it shows just how good he was that he came back with limited games and made such a big impression.
And this one I thought was really good. The Rams get Defensive Rookie of the Year, Attila Ishik, cornerback. He was, especially towards the end of the season, he was playing lots of plays when the Rams kind of took that step. But those are the list of the ELF awards. So congratulations to all the players. Tafts are proud. And they have been all-star teams. A lot of these, which I was really excited going through because I kind of forgot this happens.
Yeah, best part.
And so we'll just rattle through these and we'll just talk about them as a whole. First team offense is filth. Quarterback Sean Shelton, running back Glenn Tunga, fullback Patrick Petch, who was the Ryan Fire fullback who did a lot. Wide receivers, you've got Kyle Sweet from the Dragons. You've got Robin Wilczek from the Thunder, which is, I'm surprised he got there, but he's definitely deserving. And Nathaniel Robitaille from the Fire. Tight end, you've got Batella Moreno from the Vikings. Offensive line, you've got Habertin as the left tackle from the Raiders. Sven Breidenbach from the Fire as left guard. Lewis Thomas, who's British, he's from the Hamburg Sea Devils. Niklas Johansson from the Vikings in the right guard. And the Galaxy have their center, Joachim Christensen. So Fire have 3 people in the first team offense there. Vikings get 2. Raiders get 2. Hamburg get 2. Dragons get 1. And the Raiders get, and the Thunder get 1 as well. What do you think of that, boys? I think, like I said, Will's, I think there's a lot of people that could have gone for that third receiver, but homegrown talent deserves it.
Yeah, for sure. And he was massive for Berlin. He was pretty much their offense really toward the end of it. And he always, as I say, he always used to score the first touchdown of the game. Just every time he was getting in early. So, and I love the fact that it's so spread out between all the teams. I really like that. I know in other sports, as in like European football, when it's like a team of the year, there's like 2 teams get mentioned essentially. So I like the fact that there's 5 or 6 teams that have been put in there.
And so moving on to first team defense, we've got Tim Harney, the defensive tackle from Hamburg. Aslan Zetterberg, defensive tackle from the Kings. Carl Kitchens, of course, on the edge from the Thunder. Alejandro Fernandez from the Dragons on the edge. No surprise there. AJ Wentland, linebacker for the Kings. Kings get a second entry on defense. Zachary Blair, linebacker from the Rams, outstanding player. Thomas Schnurrer from the Vienna Vikings, other linebacker. Kareem Ben El Ghali, cornerback from the Galaxy. Friend of the show, Justin Rogers, as the other cornerback from Hamburg. You got Kevin Fortes, the French safety in Hamburg. And Amari Williams, the safety in Ryan Fire. That's a damn good.
That's outrageous. Like, look at those 2 edges and the linebacker core, and all of it really is just nasty.
Yeah, there's a lot. All the cumulative sacks. I think you've got the top 3 with Carl Kitchens, Wentland, and Fernandez.
Yeah,
just Fernandez and Kitchens. It's over 30 sacks.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And then shout out to first team special teams. We've got kicker Jonas Schendelin from the Thunder, punters Eric Schlom from Hamburg, and the returner is Oak Palobi from Raiders. He got 1 or 2 return touchdowns, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He had a good season.
He was always getting them in good field position. Yeah.
And we'll also just go through second team quickly. So second team offense, no surprise, Zach Edwards at quarterback, Jacques Crawford, at running back. Leon Helm at fullback. We've got Quentin Pounds, wide receiver like that. Jordan Buar from the Vikings. He's another person I thought could have got MVP. Malik Stanley making a second team. Nicholas Schumann at tight end from the Thunder. Rod Lauer at left tackle from the Thunder. Milanovic, right tackle for the Vikings. Sven Fischer from the Galaxy at left guard. Pekoza from the Thunder at right guard. And David Weinstock at center. So which team's got the most first and second team? I think there's
a lot of thunder in that offense.
There is a lot of thunder in there. The offensive line, Hamburg have 2, and the Vikings get 2. So shows you offensive linesman's team, they're 2 in the championships. Second team defense, we've got Niklas Gustav from the Raiders, the defensive tackle, along with Christian Van Horn from the Rhein Fire. Kasim Edebali, second team edge from Hamburg. Michael Sam from Dragons as well. He's a beast. David Izignon from the Thunder is second team linebacker. Precious Ogbevoen from the Stuttgart Surge, first entry from the Surge, so well played for him. Maxime Royer from the Panthers makes second string linebacker. Moritz DLA from the Thunder as cornerback. Benjamin Strait from the Vikings. Goran Zek from the Panthers as safety, and Lewis Horvath as the other safety from the Vikings. And then we've got the special teams, kicker Ryan Rimler from the Galaxy, Maximilian Eisenhut from the Fire as the punter, and Darius Robinson as return man. Well deserved that.
Yeah. I was going to say, imagine Zach Edwards throwing a Quentin Pounds, Jordan Boer, and Malik Stanley. That would be outrageous.
Gene Constant. Let's go through some of the snubs. Gene Constant's not on there.
Yeah, I guess maybe didn't get enough targets.
Yeah, that second string, it looks like it was a lot of fighting for those places, you can see. I'm really happy Malik Stanley got in there. Who else could have snuck in here?
I didn't realize how many...
Schneider?
Schneider, yeah. I'll be honest. I don't know offensive line too well.
No.
Defensively,
Did Laka get in?
No.
No, he didn't. Yeah.
I'm surprised that as a Dragons cornerback, he got so many interceptions towards the end of the season. It was like Mott's or something.
It's good to say I think every single team has got at least.
I was about to say, I think every team's been represented there, hasn't it?
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really good. So congratulations to everyone who made the first and second team All-Stars. A couple of retirements. Kasim Edebali, a face of the ELF really since the get-go. He has announced his retirement after 2 championship back-to-back appearances. I think we should mention that. Hamburg lose, but back-to-back championship appearances just shows you the consistency they put out on the field. Miguel Buck as well from Hamburg announcing his retirement. And also, like we mentioned, Sean Shelton. So there will be a couple more, I'm sure, that crop up. But I mean, Kasim Edebali, big man, big character. So he'll be missed. Anything we missed there before we get to our final thoughts for the season's chaps?
Just on the championship game, you mentioned it twice. You could tell, watch out for Hamburg next year because there are a lot of tiers at full time. And I think that just shows how much that this genuinely means to players. And that's twice in a row now, Hamburg. They're not going to let themselves lose it a third time. So if you want to back someone to win it next year, get on Hamburg.
So the question with Hamburg is, though, should they go out and get, I know we talked about it offline, but should they get an American quarterback and not have 2 American receivers?
Yes.
Yeah, personally, I think for the output you get from Gene Constant across from Lamar Jordan, it just feels like it makes more sense to keep one of them and get a stellar quarterback. Like, just imagine if they went and got Zach Edwards and didn't get Lamar Jordan. Like, I think that Hamburg team wins the championship. Or if you go get Sean Shelton, obviously he was already playing for the Raiders, or pretty much any of the American quarterbacks. Like, Cisse played well. He did help that team to the championships, but when you're in the championships, I think you need a quarterback to win you that game.
Yeah.
I think if he hadn't got injured, I think Mac might have started the championship game because he looked like a good player.
Yeah.
The semis, didn't he?
They might keep him. You never know. It's just that was the one thing with Hamburg, and I obviously don't want to keep lumping in on Cisse, but yeah, they were direct snap into Lamar Jordan, I think, in the second quarter. And I think just the belief that would have given Vienna, them just thinking, oh, they don't know what to do here. Like, we've completely ruffled them, more of the same. Getting an American QB has such an advantage for your team. I know that for Europe, we kind of want to develop these European quarterbacks, but if you're going to go win an ELF championship game, you need an American QB. I think it's a given.
The issue is in the ELF, and obviously we want to promote the growth from kind of as young as age as we can get them, really. With quarterbacks, that's the last position you're going to develop talent for because it's the position that requires the most experience to be good. Like, there's going to be athletes at every position, but to be a quarterback, that's why Brady's the best, because he has 20 plus years of NFL experience, not even to mention college and high school, to tap into. When you're developing, it's until we're going to get homegrown quarterbacks in the league when we've got quarterbacks that have been training in Germany from the age of 8.
Yeah.
Very
true.
Let's move towards the postseason then. There's a couple of things we can think of. Who do we? What are we most optimistic for? Whether that's the league as a whole, is there teams you're like, this team's going to go smash it, this player's going to go to this team and smash it, anything like that, lads?
Well, with 18 teams now, I think that means there's a lot more room for. I've just banged on about American talent, but I think there's now a lot more room for players to come in, and I think this season has been such a success, such an improvement on the first season, and the fact that I think that the league can make that jump again, for sure, and with 6 more teams in. There's more fixtures. There's such bigger markets. And it's not even just on the pitch, but it's off the pitch as well. I think there's possibility for more TV stuff. Yeah,
it's harder to talk about developments in this league than the NFL, because you're kind of like, well, if this team adds a couple of players here and there is so much movement of players. We saw it last postseason. I think we're going to see it this season as well. So it's hard to know because a lot of players on quite short contracts. So could we see, for example, a big name quarterback move into a different team? Say, for example, Hamburg getting one of the established quarterbacks. I don't know. So it's hard to tell. And also, there's always going to be an element of watering down when you add new teams in. The experienced players are going to become more watered down. So hopefully, especially when they add existing teams that have got existing squads and existing pool players. That's what we saw with Vikings and the Raiders. They didn't really take that many players from other teams. They had the existing
There's
squads.
A great transition. Like they brought fan bases, they brought staff, they brought players. Like it was great.
I think we said before the season has started, and I hope this happens with some of the new teams as well. The Vikings and Raiders were good because they had existing structures, existing organizations, and they knew each other. So that's why they did well. So hopefully, I can't get away from the fact that I think they're expanding too quickly. I hope it doesn't affect it next season. But
I mean, Milano's team are an established, like they're the cream of the crop from the Italian league. So I'm happy with that. But yeah, you're right. Because I think this season did show like the Rhine Fire displayed some really good German talent. Tyrol and Vienna also brought in some really good talent from their country. Even Turkey brought in some pretty great Turkish lads.
Mm.
So with the Turkish team, I was saying how terrible they were. All it took was a couple more players to come in key positions and a bit more organisation. And if there was an in-season award for most improved team, it should be the Rams. Because the second half of the season, the Rams were a completely different team to the first half. And all credit to them for doing that. So it shows it only takes a little bit of change and a little bit of organisation to improve.
I do share your concern, though, because there definitely were some growing pains this year, whether it is from like the stats and the game books from kind of that level up to actual game management, like those stadiums that weren't available the entire time. There was halftime shows getting cancelled. I hope they don't try and get too big for their boots again and still focus on expanding, but focus on doing the things that went wrong right.
So get the fundamentals right first. The product on the field is well run. It's not like BAFA or something where referees don't turn up. The games happen. And there's the odd stadium has to be changed, but no games have ever been cancelled. They've all gone on time, and the product on the field is professional, it's televised, it's professionally run. So that's their priority, which they've done. The off-field stuff isn't as good. Like the merchandise, the stats, it took most of the season to get that right. And I think the merchandise has been an absolute disaster from looking at the Reddit page when people have ordered it and not got the jerseys and stuff. And let's be honest, we'd all like to get some merchandise. So I get that that's secondary for them. They want to get the product on the field right. But, they need to be a little bit more professional, I think.
It's hard to think because you have to think of it from a business point of view. They're not the NFL who have bucket loads of money to throw. Because I initially thought like the bloody NFTs. I was thinking, why are they doing them? But I've also the reason they push NFTs and the Game Pass and all these like packages is they need money as well.
So Joe might disagree on this. I didn't think the Game Pass was that bad. There's a lot of people saying there was a couple of glitches through the season, but 99% of the time it was pretty good product.
Yeah, I at the beginning it was frustrating. I know everyone says, but the NFL has issues, and of course that's fair enough. Yeah, towards the end it wasn't too bad. I would like, I think it's good. What was it? €99 for this season. Yeah, so it's not awfully expensive. You get to see all the games. Like it's frustrating sometimes. I watch games where for the first quarter there's no audio, and then the clock isn't working, the clock isn't there, so you don't know what minute the game's in, especially if you've turned it on halfway through. So there's little things here and there. Like the championship game didn't go live till about 3 minutes before kickoff.
Okay.
Which was a bit of a shame because I wanted to see all the players coming out and get a feel for the atmosphere before the game. So if they were able to do stuff like that, that'd be great. But then I expect they would have all of that stuff on German TV and and all the other broadcasters. So yeah, for me, even if there was just a little show going on like half an hour beforehand, but then of course they've got to employ people, they've got to pay people to do the build up and yada yada. So I get it. It's still the second year. For a second year of a European American football competition, the Game Pass is better than we could have expected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's fair enough. But then obviously €99 is quite a lot to a lot of people. So at the same time, I can see the pros and cons, but they just keep working on those. Yeah, the off the stuff, the foundations, and just making sure that the structure is strong beneath it. And they can't go wrong, but that's really what they've got to work on. And we're going to keep watching. We're going to keep supporting because we want this to be a success.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Tim, do you know what the viewing figures were for the championship game?
I've not seen them mentioned. I know throughout the season, the viewing figures have been pretty strong. They've had a pretty good market share in Germany. I think it's only the German figures they've released, but it would be interesting to see that actually, to see what they were.
There's one thing I was thinking is throughout the season, I've definitely noticed like more sponsors were getting there. Like things started to look a bit more professional. Like that they've got ways to go. Like they need to fix the jerseys and the helmets.
Yeah.
But I was just curious because I have a feeling that championship game would have been very well watched because it was.
What you said is right. It seemed to be every week I watched the game, a team had another patch on because they start off with no patches at all, and every so often it'd be like, oh look, they've got another patch there. They've got the name across. So, and sponsorship brings in money. Whether you like the jerseys with Pepsi or whatever written across it, it brings in money for the league. It pays the players. I
like it to a point. Like, obviously, the NFL jerseys are clean. They're going to stay that way. I kind of like the European ones because they have a different look to them with the sponsors on.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as they're not huge.
As long as they don't come like footy. Like, I obviously don't really follow it, but...
No, it drives me nuts. I lost my head when they started getting shirt sponsors, like sleeve sponsors. Yeah.
Yeah. Rugby's even worse. One rugby team's got 36 different sponsors on one jersey.
It's not Worcester, no. I mean, they need the money.
They need the money. No, it's an did 1 year.
Is it F1 that's just ludicrous where they suits of sponsors?
Yeah, but it was cool when they did Marlboro and then they took the cigarette sponsors off. That was the good old days.
Talked about they were. Right. Anything else about the ELF before this is probably our final episode for the season.
Yeah, I mean, when big news comes through and we get who's playing for who and players and whatnot, I'm sure we'll get cracking again. But
when we find out that Jadrian Clark's suddenly become the quarterback of the Munich Ravens or something, we'll break it here.
Munich Ravens fits. It's going to be...
Munich Ravens have actually got news breaking tomorrow, according to Football. Ooh. And they're pretty good at scoop because they had the Andrew... whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Thank you. They had that news before it broke. So
yeah, football good. They're big insiders.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for those who have followed us throughout this whole ELF season, thank you so much for being with us. For those who joined halfway through, we hope you enjoyed it. We hope you convinced you to keep watching it. And we hope you will see you either on our NFL stuff or when we come back next year for the third season of the European League football. You can keep up to date with all of our stuff on our social medias, which can be found where, Joe?
Yeah, our Twitter and Instagram is at TAFS_UK. Our Facebook is That American Football Show. And Adam mentioned our NFL stuff. Make sure to check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. That's where all of our NFL stuff's going to be. It's going to be audio only. So go check it out there at That American Football Show.
Leave us comments, let us know where you're listening from. We'll add you to our map, give us feedback. We're always looking to improve. Thank you so much for listening and sticking with us for the ELF season. Anything else before we get off, boys?
No, thank you for listening.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Make sure you head over and check out our friends at EP Sports for any of your NFL, EFL, or equipment needs. And we will see you next season.